Thank you for coming to this annual event, which is a treat for the Northwest area and the 4 cities represented by the Chamber. It is hard to think back over the last year and think what happened in January, what happened in the middle of the year. We see the papers and the stories in the papers, also on the TV. But it's nice to get a recap of a look back of all that has been accomplished in these cities over the past year, and also a little bit of a look ahead. Again, a lot is happening in these cities. So in the next 40 minutes, we hope to give you a good look at what happened last year in these cities and also a look ahead to the next year. How this will work, if you love going things alphabetically, curveball this year, because we've mixed the cities up a little bit here. So our first city is going to be the city of Brooklyn Park. And so the mayors will have about 10 minutes to do their presentation. They all have beautiful PowerPoints to help them along. And then afterwards, we'll have some time for questions and answers. So if you have questions that pop up to you during their presentation, jot those down. At the end, we'll try to address some of those questions in the time we have available. Mayor Lundy needs to leave a little bit early, so you'll have to catch Mayor Lundy at another time, or I know some of the city staff are here that you might ask questions to. So with that, again, thank you for coming. Great event here for the North Hennepin Area Chamber. And at this point, I'd like to introduce Mayor Jeff Lundy from the city of Brooklyn Park for the Brooklyn Park update.
Well, first of all, how blessed I am to actually have PowerPoint. Last year, the PowerPoint in my own home turf didn't work for me, so I'm quite happy to actually see some slides that I can talk to. So I just want to welcome everybody to this event. Is good for the cities, all of the cities, to talk about things that are going on, hopefully give people an update, and hopefully kind of mingle and connect with people. So Brooklyn Park, we've identified new goals this year. We call it the BP 2025. With full apologies to Jay, I think the most exciting part is not so much the goals, but the process. These goals reflect what our community thinks. It's not a council goal, although we adopt them. It was actually generated by lots of impact, lots of connections with the community, giving people a chance to talk about what they want. So these goals are not staff goals. These are not council goals. These are what the community told us in many different outreach scenarios, many meetings. And so this is what they would like us as the council and the staff and the community to really focus on. Economic development, Brooklyn Park, always moving forward. Things slow now the winter, but things are going to heat up fast. Right now we're looking at, in the last 10 years, jobs have increased about 17%. That is over the county average of about 7%. So in mayor math, and I think the other mayors would agree, that is a 3 times increase. So we're quite happy to keep pushing. Mayor math, we round up, right, to the nearest cool number. So, but things continue to move forward, and we continue to look at development, not just in the north part, but all parts. And we are starting to shift our focus into redevelopment, taking a look at things that we can do elsewhere. I don't know if you've heard about this thing called the light rail. I know our staff has. So we're blessed this year to bring new news about that, is that we formed a coalition of cities along the Blue Line, including Brooklyn Park, Brooklyn Center, not on the line, but very much connected to it. Crystal, New Hope, Robbinsdale, and Golden Valley, and Minneapolis have all been coming together, talking to different entities, whether it's at county, the state, or federal level, about why this line is important. We've also been very clear that we are becoming impatient, and that we, as we watch Southwest continue to have challenges, we don't believe those challenges should continue to impact our line, which has been pretty drama-free, which maybe that's our problem. Given the politics in the Capitol, maybe a little drama would help us get our stuff done. But we continue to move forward. The line continues to meet its goals, meet its budget, meet its deadlines. And so we and other cities on the Blue Line, you will hear more from us. We presented to the county on Tuesday. We will continue to move that forward at all levels. The city of Brooklyn Park will be inviting all the governor candidates for the state. I'll say the word viable, just to kind of give us an out on some of them, who have a chance to be our governor, and make sure they go up to 610, see what development can be when transit and development and intentions come together. Business development, Takeda Pharmaceutical is starting to ramp up. They were starting to deliver on those promises. That site has always been a promise. And I think right now they are actually moving that into action. They're bringing more lines on. They are bringing people involved. They're starting to invest. A couple new hotels also right by the line. So people want to talk about why does light rail help a city? It drives development, drives housing, it drives opportunity. These hotels are going to be half a block from the 93rd stop, and they're there for the stop because they're going to be at 610 and 93rd. Purbex is now Tesla. That was awesome because I was in DC the day they announced it. Every federal elected official knew about it. I'm not sure of their business model, but it sure sounds cool to have Tesla here because they are kind of a thought leader in futuristic thinking. They invested in a company, and we're hopeful that they're going to double their investment here because we know when we start to get companies showing up, other companies will come. Interchange. Anybody from Champlin here? Yeah, we're going to put more work on 169. That should make you really happy, I'm sure. Next year, you probably won't be so happy. No, we've been working quite closely, City of Champlin, on traffic to get the 101st interchange working. We've started to get funding, started to rack up some good grants, whether it's from the state, county, and so we're starting to get that momentum going that'll help us put that, that interchange into. That interchange is important. If you look at the map, we are not done with just Target up at that corner. We are hopeful to get 2 to 3 more headquarter type level companies. We want to drive jobs, and as I always say, butts and chairs. We're not interested in warehouses. We're actually interested in companies that employ people and take the maximum use. And we know that 101st has to get done in order for more business development, because at a certain point, people got to get to those jobs. Restaurants. Who wants restaurants? Everybody wants restaurants, right? So there's a couple different things going on in Brooklyn Park. We're starting to get the national chains that are following the fact that 610 is a parking lot on some days. And so, which is kind of heartening to a mayor because you're going to see lots of traffic, so that means lots of people driving by. So we're starting to get the national chains, but we're also, because of our diversity, we're starting to get those restaurants that reflect our diversity. And we're starting to get press on those. Where in the last few months, we've had Fat Chance, Lemongrass, who's always kind of been a metro-wide favorite, and also now Empty Noodles are starting to get press for being good, locally owned, family, ethnic restaurants that deliver something different. People like myself who have traveled for business understand what it's like to travel and not have to go to a chain. Although that's nice, sometimes it's nice to go to something local. So we're starting to get some local flavors to reflect our diversity, and we're pretty excited about that. And of course, if you want a beer, we've got a brewery coming, so we joined the club like everyone else in that. So we're looking forward to that opening, and that should bring some excitement as well. Housing, I think one of the things that we've done, a couple things this year, is we've got more apartments. We've stuck with our plan on how apartments are going to be developed. Also, this last apartment approval, it just happened earlier this week. For the first time, we actually included parking requirements into that, where we actually, in our use permit, actually required them to honor their current commitment to a parking spot per unit. Oftentimes, we've seen our older apartments, they tend to start to charge people for the right to park at a place, and that drives parking into our neighbors. It also doesn't help the people who live there. So you will see this over and over again from Brooklyn Park whenever we start to reach deals with apartment owners, whether it's new apartments or renovations. We're going to require that they start to address this. So we've got a couple new things, including a senior complex that is really geared toward people who need high level of care, lots of staff, so elderly people who may be suffering from dementia, memory loss, health issues where they need constant care. We'll have about 101 unit going in there, just south of Prairie Care. I would like to back up, and one thing I did want to mention, I think Denise and Nalima are here. I waited till you took bites before I said it. I didn't want to, if they could wave their hand, please. I knew you can do that much. So one of the things we did this summer is also adopt a housing plan. And it kind of stated the city's goals for not just housing at all one end or the other of the economic spectrum, but also starting to identify how can we preserve and increase the number of affordable houses so that we know that if we take a new development, if we start to put affordable housing within it. So we adopted a policy with the work of ACER, which is Nalima and Denise, and some other community organizations to do outreach and start to identify where we could find a nice happy medium where we're getting stuff done, and we're also putting, the pressure on the development people. Brooklink, anybody who's not connected with Brooklink, I sure hope you will connect with us. This year, it's still a partnership between Brooklyn Center and Brooklyn Park, and we have started to really look at how can we impact youth, and so we're really partnering with businesses. I want to thank the Chamber and other businesses here. that we hopefully are providing a way for kids who don't have a mentor to get their way into jobs, and we continue to move that forward. The program is hosted in the Brooklyn Park City Hall, but it is still the impact wide that it was before. Branding, I never got so many emails about a sign in my life. And the whys, so if you haven't been by our City Hall sign, do it at night, because that's when it really is impactful. It does meet our goals of being unexpected, and so we think it's pretty cool. And yes, for the record, it did need to be replaced. We just didn't throw money at it for the heck of it. Public safety, something cool. The red line, population. The blue line, crime. We have reached a part where we are getting close, not quite close enough for mayor math to call it 50%, but getting close, where we can say we've cut crime in half, despite adding 25,000 more people. My favorite part for all us white Minnesotans is that, guess what? We are twice as diverse. So anybody who ever says in a small conversation or a large conversation that diversity causes crime is factually incorrect. And I love that stat, because it absolutely is not true. Anybody who ever says that to you, you can send them to this slide. We can prove that it does not matter. What matters is when you get police involved with kids' lives. I'm approaching the end of my thing, so I'm going to blow through the police stuff a little bit. But one of the things we get asked is, how are we doing it? We're doing it in a variety of ways. We are being geographically focused in our policing. We've been involved with National League of Cities, Cities United, my brother's keeper. It was my honor to be at the White House 3 times last year to talk about what the city's doing, our commitment to helping youth of young boys of color start to overcome those challenges. Because a young African male who's facing challenges when they're 18, it didn't start when they're at 18. It started when they're 1, it started when they're 2 and 3. So we're trying to focus on different aspects during a person's life that we can start to make an impact. Starting to give our police involved with lots of conversations about immigration. How does it affect people in our community? Talking about how community policing works. How can our police officers become more diverse? It is not a popular profession right now for white or non-white to become a police officer. Across the board, every school that teaches law enforcement has seen enrollment go down. And so what we're trying to do is convince young people of all races that policing is important. And so we're doing that by getting out there and doing outreach. And we're trying to get in people's lives. And we're starting to hire people who do cadets and different things. I talked about our crime going down because the police, well, Zanewood Recreation is a rec and park program. And what they do there is they work with kids. And they make kids, you know, I was speaking to Weebelow's troop earlier this week, and I asked them what happens when kids have nothing to do. And you know what they said? They get in trouble. And these are 8-year-olds, and they understood very clearly what adults sometimes don't grasp, is if you don't give youth something to do positively, they'll find something to do. And so with all this crime, you may be thinking, hey, what's a police chief got to do except to kind of hang around and do other things? And I can assure you that our chief is not just hanging around and doing nothing. Well, maybe for one day he was. So our chief took part in a fundraiser challenge to the youth at Zanewood and said that he would get duct taped to a wall if they raised a bunch of money. And so for one day, the chief was hanging around. And I think this image is probably, the patrol officers probably think this is how he does every day, but I can assure you it just happened once. But with that, I just want to say thank you to everyone, and try to be aware of your time so we can get you out of here on time. So thank you again, and I'll be around for questions. I actually teach at 1 o'clock, so I will bail, and no offense to my other mayors if I leave right in the middle of your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Lundy, and again, he does have to leave a little bit early, so again, if you have questions, some of the other staff would be here to address those. I'm going to try to advance a little technology here as we get ready for the next city, which is the fine city of Osseo. Mayor Dwayne Poppy is here to present some of the things that have happened in Osseo and what is coming up in 2018. Mayor Poppy.
Well, thank you everybody for coming out on this cold and snowy day. But as I was reflecting on this address today, I thought, man, it's kind of crazy. It was 8 years ago I presented my first mayor speak here. I was actually a council member at that time. And I still remember had my first meeting on Monday, and then they said, well, you're going to do the speech. So I had to get quite up to speed on everything that happened over the city the past year. And so sat down on the table up here in front and, you know, kind of a little nervous, shuffling through my notes. And Mayor Stephenson looks over at me and goes, how you doing? I said, well, just trying to get up to speed here. And he goes, don't worry, Osseo's last. We'll give you about 2 minutes. Go tell a couple of bad jokes like your former mayor did. And really don't talk about anything. So hopefully we got a little bit more to talk about today than we did back in those days. So appreciate us not being last and actually getting more than a couple of minutes to talk about what's going on in Osseo. You know, we're pretty proud of what's going on in Osseo, and hopefully if you haven't had a chance to go through town, hopefully you can see the activities and what we've got going on there. You know, the biggest thing that, you know, we're most proud of really is the sound financial management that we've had. You know, this year marks the 5th straight year that we've lowered the local tax rate. And that started a number of years ago, and just really a big thanks to the councils, you know, that we're on, and then the current council, really making those tough decisions that you have to make in a small community to kind of to put ourselves in good financial position, because things back in the day, you know, really weren't that good. You know, if you look back, you know, we're an A minus, and then now our bond rating's a double A minus, so we've moved up a few ticks there. So I mean, that's been a lot of tough decision, and I also want to just really thank the staff and the department heads. You know, as we go through the budget process every year, it's no longer, well, we got to keep in the budget, because if we don't, then the money's gone next year. We've really tasked them and really challenged them, you know, what do you need this year to be effective, and how can we move things forward while still being effective in the way we use the money in the city. So that's one thing I really got to commend the staff, and the department heads are really effective on their budgeting and what they need, and knowing that if they don't have in the budget this year and they need it next year, and they've got a good business case for it, and then we can find a way to accomplish those goals. You know, and also we're going through a big utility rate study next year. And what that does is, you know, again, if you rewind the clock, back in the day when we kind of first got there, our sanitary or storm and our water funds were all negative or have next to no money in there. We had to make the hard decisions to increase rates over a number of years to be able to get those utilities where they needed to be. And that allows us to, as we are doing future street projects, be able to make sure that there's enough money in those accounts to actually pay for the bonds, and then maybe in the future using some of those funds just to pay for the improvements just outright, rather than increasing our bond issuance to cover those. So that, I mean, that's been a big step. It's just, you know, really the planning and the foresight on that it takes to be able to accomplish a lot of this that frankly we never had. And then of course the finance system update, you know, they're really excited about that, you know, because just last year we got rid of our rotary dial phones and our thermal fax machines. So now we're now we're actually got a computer system and that works. So now they're going to be able to update that so people can pay their bills online. So we're kind of moving in the right direction. And also, the street and alley improvement projects, you know, those will continue next year. I mean, this is another big focus that we've had, is just continue to improve the infrastructure of the city. And that's just not at the roads, but, you know, what's under the roads. And really taking a proactive approach of, you know, what really needs to be done today and what can be put off, you know, in the future. Because it started back in 2013. You know, we really made the decision that, you know, over the next 9 years, every road in the city is going to get touched. You know, and at that time, you know, obviously you saw Central Avenue that got done, but the local residential roads, they hadn't been touched since the early 90s, and they were in pretty bad shape. A lot of pothole repairs and patching, and I mean, they were just terrible. You know, so we really made a conscious effort to say, you know, over the next 9 years, what does it look like, and how can we accomplish these? And for us, we have to balance the size of the project along with what we can afford, you know, from and the burden that we place on our residents each year. So that's really kind of our struggle right there. You know, so in 2016, we milled and overlaid half the city to extend those roads. And with that, those were designated that the subsystems with the storm and the water and the sanitary didn't need to be touched. So we're able to just mill and overlays, extend the life of those as we do the other projects, which include some sort of underground work on those. So And of course, the comprehensive plan update, you know, it's really a monumental task for a small community. You know, it's really taxing on the staff and, you know, our consultants, because we just don't have a whole lot of people, and there's a whole lot of information that goes into this. So I just want to really thank our planner, Nancy Apps, and we had an 18-member steering committee that has put a lot of time and a lot of effort into this, and be able to present it to the Met Council for approval. Currently, the preliminary council approval will happen in February, and then from that point it goes out to the adjacent communities and affected jurisdictions around to be able, and they have up to 6 months. So hopefully Brooklyn Park and Maple Grove don't take 6 months to review the plan and get back to us. But so we'll have that done and on time. But that's been a big Herculean lift for a lot of our staff. So that'll be free up a lot of time once we have that done. So we're excited to get that behind us. And of course, everyone wants to know about what's going on with the water tower. You know, it was on the National Historic Places back in June, and what that does is, you know, it allows us to get some additional grant funding. You know, so currently we're underway trying to get an assessment grant to understand what exactly needs to be done to have the tower continue to stand. It's over 100 years old, so there does need some maintenance and painting. And then we've talked, you know, what do we do with it, you know, and really kind of turn it into kind of an icon, the showpiece of the city, whether it's lighted, painted, parking. I mean, there's a whole lot of different things that we can do with it. But I mean, as you see, it's kind of in our logo, and it you know, for a lot of people, it's kind of their wayfinding sign. They said, you know, I know I'm home when I see the Osseo Water Tower, whether it's either Brooklyn Park or Osseo or Maple Grove. It's kind of stood there for a long time, and I don't know if anyone would know if it was noon or 6 o'clock if you didn't have that whistle blowing every night. So, and then one thing, if you've driven up and down 81, you saw the Osseo Gateway sign, and if you remember, it's kind of right off Central Avenue and Highway 81. It was the old, some of you rewind the clock, at the old Osseo jail site. If that was kind of the old Barney Fife jail in there with the big skeleton key in the ring. But so that's been long tore down, and it's been kind of vacant, you know, just kind of dirt there. And so we really kind of, as the entry point of the city, we said we, you know, really need to do something and address community events and stuff. So we're able to, you know, a lot of assistance from a lot of business, civic groups in town and individuals. We're able to, we'll put the money into this and put this sign in place. And it's really dressed up the corner. And what's nice is that, you know, any business or event that's located in Osseo, they can advertise in the sign just for $100 a week. So it just continues to flip with the activities and what's going on in there. So it's been a great win for our community. Of course, one thing, you know, we're still working on is the Bowerboom Park expansion. That's the park that with the Veterans Memorial in it. It's right across from City Hall. And right now it's kind of a half a city block. What we've done is there's 4 homes on the eastern half of that. We've acquired, from a city's perspective, 3 homes. We're waiting for the last home. And you know, she's been a long time planning commission member, so whenever you decide to pull the plug, you know, we'll buy your home from you. So we're just kind of waiting for that. And then kind of really what it'll develop is just kind of a sense of place in the city, and really develop that gathering point that everybody can gather around for. You know, we do have a lot of community events and things that we'll touch on later, and kind of give you that kind of Norman Rockwell feel of downtown, really kind of put that centerpiece that's in there. So, but we're looking forward to that, and we've looked at a lot of different plans and really trying to incorporate a lot of different aspects into that. So again, it can be used for a lot of different community events. Also, our Nights in Unite this year, we're trying to do something different. You know, we typically have anywhere from 8 to 10 block parties throughout town, and what this year is, we're trying to take that and then expand that, really kind of have a community-wide celebration and have that, you know, to really, so everybody kind of knows everybody. It's beyond just kind of their block and what they're looking at. You know, it seems like everybody in Osseo knows everybody and knows what's going on. Sometimes that's good, and sometimes that's not so good, depending on your situation. But yeah, so that's something new. So we're just coordinating with all kind of the block captains right now and trying to make it into a bigger event and really kind of showcase the city, and then also just the residents and what's going on. And then this is one interesting thing, you know, it's kind of in response to the changing demographics in Osseo. I mean, we've had senior programs in Osseo for a number of years, but this is the first time that we've offered youth rec classes during the daytime in quite a while. You know, I mean, way back in the day, Osseo ran all the sports and rec programs for the area, and then everybody kind of took over their own programs in the various cities. But so this kind of shows the changeover, and this was really a need that, you know, we had in the city and wanted to address it for, you know, that just those people. So, and of course, the Healthier Communities Project, you know, I think a lot of people have participated in that, you know, with the Hennepin County creating healthier communities. It's just kind of creating an environment for, you know, healthier living and lifestyle. And one thing is, you know, we won the award as the most engaged community in the county's Step to It challenge. So that was, I really got to give a thanks to the lady there in green in the picture there, Dee Bond. She did a great job really coordinating, getting people excited about that. And kind of the most engaged community award, what that was based on is the highest percentage of participation based on population. So we had quite a number of people that were involved in the Step to It challenge and logged a few miles. So appreciate all the work that everybody did with that. And of course, tie in with that, kind of creating healthier communities. This year we have a Osseo orchard. And what we did was, where that's located is right south of our public works, kind of the east side of town, right behind the sound wall of 169. Kind of this triangle piece of land that was kind of worthless. And we were able to do, you know, the food group, Fruit Tree Planting Foundation, and Vitafusion sponsored and bought all of the fruit trees and the berries. So we had a fruit tree planting. So we have cherry, apple, pear, plum trees that will mature in 3 to 4 years, and then the berries we had blueberries, currants, and then those should be hopefully available this year. But what it is, it's just an open orchard and allow people from the community access to fresh fruits. And so people will be able to go there and just pick them as you want and bring them home, or just out for your nightly walk, stop by, grab an apple, and kind of keep going. So just another kind of unique feature that we have in Osseo. In regards to development, you know, we've done a lot of development projects over the last few years, and you know, we're always continuing to look for more. You know, and this one that we've designated as the North Central redevelopment site, and it's kind of right on the north end of Main Street, Central Avenue, and 93rd is the street you see going across. So just across the street from that is St. Vincent's, to give you a frame of reference. And what that is we're looking possible two-phase, and if you look at that, the two different phases there, it's roughly about the same size that 5 Central was. And then the significant, to have the impact of 5 Central and duplicate that here. 5 Central, just to give you just a frame of reference, if what that did to Osseo, it's 140 unit apartment. So I mean, not a super big apartment by any means, but once that was built, occupied, that changed the population by Osseo 10%. So you have 10% more people in town. So I mean, that's, you take that and duplicate that anywhere else. I mean, it's a significant population shift. A lot of the businesses have seen more traffic up and down. And I think the bigger thing, if you look at it, if you took the whole block, which is similar to this size, where 5 Central was, if you looked at the tax value prior to that building being there, was about $800,000 tax value of all the parcels. And right now it's assessed at $23 million. So I mean, that goes to show you proper redevelopment and what that can do. And I mean, ultimately, you know, inside of that, we're able to do some infrastructure and other things that we didn't have to assess for. So again, we're trying to duplicate something like that up here to again increase the tax value of the city, taking the burden, you know, rather than continuing to raise taxes, finding ways to do things. And of course, elections this year. You know, we've got the mayor and 2 council seats open, so you'll be seeing all of that coming up this fall. And then again, just kind of our listing of our events, you know, kind of the small town with a whole bunch of big events going on. We always seem to be, everyone else says, man, for a little town, you got a lot of stuff going on. You know, I guess we like to have a good time and get out and meet the neighbors. So, I mean, if you see here, I mean, we've got stuff going, you know, from spring to fall. So come on, check it out. You know, as kind of the website says, you know, come discover Osseo. We've got a lot going on. So appreciate everybody, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mayor Poppy. Normally when we meet with the mayors at CCX Media for our every other month update, they get 3 minutes of time, so this is a luxury today. 10 minutes is forever for them. But Mayor Stephenson, Mayor Wilson, there is enough time left for both of you, so at this time let's move to the city of Maple Grove. And are you going to go ahead and update the technology? Mayor Mark Stephenson.
Thank you, Paul. So thank you on behalf of the city of Maple Grove. I'm very happy to be here today. 3 of my other city council members are here today as well. I want to thank them for being here. Councilmember Karen Jagger, Councilmember Phil Leith, and Councilmember Christy Barnett. And obviously we have some staff, our city administrator, Heidi, and Carrie Willie, our economic development manager. And I think that's one of the things that I wanted to focus on this year was the efforts that we put forward to try and create new economic development in our city and what we're really doing as a proactive city measures to do that. We last year finalized some special TIF legislation for the gravel mining area that will significantly help us to develop that area, and we've already seen that as we come forward with our new Loom corporate headquarter project that I'll talk about later. We've been working on business retention and expansion of a program that was implemented by the City Council over the last year. We participated in a number of different forums, and we're trying to make sure that we as a city are doing what we can do to lure and entice new businesses to our community. Now, some of those proactive efforts have included our participation in the Open to Business program, participated in the National Small Business Saturday, and joined Medical Alley Association. One of the significant things that we have as a business entities in our city are our medical technology businesses. And I just wanted to highlight 4 of them that either grew in our city or came to our city in the last year. First is STEMmonics. It's a new company that came from elsewhere. It is a very high technical company that has a very specialized business model that deals with creating mini tissues, essentially mini hearts and mini brains, that they then can test medications on so that in trials of medications that can be moved forward in a rapid fashion instead of the fashion it has in the past. A case on intervention is another job that is expanding their operations in Maple Grove. They're a mitral valve heart replacement company that develops specialized mitral valves for heart problems and heart issues. Micro Optics is another company that is expanding and growing in Maple Grove. It is a company that has a special device for glaucoma treatment. And Aspire Medical Systems is a fast-growing company in Maple Grove, and it is involved in the development of sleep apnea treatments. We have a whole list of various medical entities in our city that are growing in a rapid fashion, and we're very happy to have them in our city. It's one of the great things that our city does do. Other things that we're looking forward to in Maple Grove is the new Arbor Lakes Business Park. Some of you may have heard about it. It's essentially going to add about 1 million square feet of office space to our community. The first will be the new Loom development that will be coming to our city. Loom is currently located in 6 different locations in Bloomington, and they're consolidating all their corporate operations and manufacturing and development operations in Maple Grove in the Arbor Lakes Office Park, which is just east of the Costco. So you're going to start seeing a whole bunch of building actually happening there. For a number of years I've been asked about that. What are the people out there doing? Well, that was just Caterpillar doing their testing. Now we're actually going to see real development in our city at last on those lands. So we're looking forward to that. We're going to see upwards of 1 million new square feet of office in that business park over the next year or 2. Other new economic development that we have coming to our city is the Village of Arbor Lakes. That's right there on the corner of Hemlock and Elm Creek. We've already seen some of the new retail come up in that location. It'll be starting to fill up over the next year. In addition, there'll be 2 new hotels coming to that site, along with an additional set of restaurants, offices, and other things for our community. We're looking forward to that moving forward. One of the things that we're very excited about is over the last few months, we've received about $1.5 million from the state and from Met Council to redo the Hilger transfer site. Many of you who might be aware, the Hilger transfer site was essentially a dump back in the old days. That's what we call transfer sites. When I grew up, it was the dump. So there was a location in Maple Grove that we're now going to have significant dollars to remediate the environmental issues that are located on that site, and we're looking forward to this building being created again this year. It'll be somewhere between about 300,000 square feet of a new industrial building up in the sort of middle of Maple Grove. An additional site that we're excited about is the old Spancrete site. Many of you know where that's located, right along Highway 81 and across from Osseo. We're very excited that at last that this is going to be repurposed. This will be a very large set of industrial warehouse type buildings in this industrial complex. It'll be upwards of an additional 1 million square feet of that type of projects, probably in about 3 or 4 buildings, it looks like, probably 3. And we also have additional economic development that's coming along the expansion of Highway 610. Much as like Brooklyn Park has seen significant growth along the 610 corridor for their business community, we're anticipating the same. We're already seeing that demand, and what we're seeing is that you're going to see a series of new office medical type of uses, not only along the north side of Highway 610, but also then on the east side of Highway 94 as you go north towards Dayton. There's been a lot of interest. We're looking forward to working with those users as the year goes forward to bring them to our city as well. In 2017, we saw a very large growth again in residential units. We had about 627 units. And I think there was a very, very good mixture of single-family homes, apartment units, and townhomes throughout our city. It's brought in over $31 million of new commercial value to our city in a very short period of time. The breakdown of those residential developments are sort of set forth on this slide. We have 102 new senior cooperative units that'll be at the Applewood Points of Maple Grove location, which is right across from the Lifetime Fitness. They already have their apartment units there, and this will be a new senior cooperative building attached to that building. The Botno Ridge apartment buildings is an additional 50 units right off of Hemlock. It's an affordable housing project done by John Duffy, and we've worked well with Mr. Duffy over the years in a number of projects, and this is just an expansion of that Botno Ridge project. There's a huge series of additional units there, as you can see. I think one of the things that's an interesting development is the progression of our Hindu Society staff housing. They're building 6 units there. It's a part of a master plan that the Hindu Society has for the land that they own. They'll be coming forward with some additional housing needs in a community center up on that location in the near future, but it's wonderful to see their continued expansion in our community. With regards to business development, I talked briefly about the Arbor Lakes Business Park. That's about 1 million square feet of new office space. We have seen continued growth in the medical service industry up by our hospital. That's where the Grove Circle Medical Building comes into play. It's about 24,000 square feet of new office space for various physician practices. We will see a significant number of new restaurants and other locations coming to our city. And for those that have been waiting for an extended period of time, Portillo's is opening in 12 days. I have to admit that it was one of the most critical and crucial issues that we've seen in the city in recent times. It sort of matches the level of Krispy Kreme and excitement, and we're sort of looking forward to the same type of issues involving the traffic. But we're excited to have Portillo's coming to our town, just as we are so many other restaurants and other service industry facilities. We saw certain restaurants open in the last year and other various retail places open. It continues to be a growth in our community. Just turning briefly to our budget. The budget this year is very similar to what it's been in the past. We have a very minimal budget increase. The average property owner was going to see about a $12, or a little bit less than $12 increase in their city taxes from last year. We've seen significant growth in our actual valuation of our homes, and we're happy to say that our tax increases remain minimal. And this goes with our financial highlights. Of course, the city maintains our AAA bond rating. We're very excited about that, but we're also very excited that the majority of our homes and commercial properties will actually have an overall decrease in their property taxes for the year. And we have tried to remain a very stable community by using very stable elements in our budgeting process so that our budget increases at a very small incremental rate on a yearly basis. And what would be any of my speeches up here without a discussion of Highway 610? You know, when I first started doing this 17 years ago, we were at the end of completing Highway 610. We all knew it was going to happen within the next couple of years. So here we sit today, and I know that Representative Smith, who's here from our community, will be helping us on completing the funding of Highway 610. Certainly there's a few projects left to do out there. We're certainly hopeful that the funding can be put together and finalized. We think that we have a very good idea because I-94 up there with the opening of Highway 610 last year has become a parking lot every single night of the week. Unfortunately, the design of the ramp between 610 and 94 was not well conceived. I think MnDOT has admitted to that, and they need to fix it. And the fix really is going to become the fixing of this interchange at 610 with the expansion of Brockton Lane as well in Dayton. The combination of those projects will greatly help relieve the I-94 corridor problems on a nightly basis, and we're really hopeful that they will fund that project fully this year and complete that so that those issues can be resolved. As always, I think the traffic concerns are always a #1 concern in our city, and so we have continued to do things over the years, and this year again is very similar. We've taken a lot of different steps to try and minimize the traffic congestion and traffic problems throughout the city. We upgraded a series of traffic controls in order to try and help smooth out the process of going through, especially the downtown Maple Grove area. Our fire department continues to do a great job in our city, and our fire calls are down from 2017 to from 2016. That's exciting. We continue to have a very good response time, and our fire department, as always, does a wonderful job. I'd be remiss if I didn't briefly talk about the police department and the services they provide to our community. I think it's great that we once again have been ranked as first in the National Night Out program. We started a new program this year called Coffee with the Cop, which has been a great success, and we were happy to join the Purple Lights initiative to further domestic violence prevention. And finally, I just want to talk about the Angel of Hope project. It's a project that we're very proud of in our city. We're one of the very few cities throughout the country that have an Angel of Hope. It's a wonderful service that happens in early December every year to recognize the loss of children. So if you have a lost child, you can put a brick out there, you can attend the service, and it's a wonderfully moving occasion for those who've had the terrible occasion to have lost a child. And with that, I want to thank all of you for being here, and we as a city look forward to the Super Bowl and our events at the Ice Arena and the Ice Oval in the upcoming weeks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Stephenson. And I'm sure it was just a coincidence there. Did you notice that the budget slide had 2 kids sleeping in a stroller next to it? I like that, Mayor Stephenson. Very good. And last but not least, we would like to have Mayor Tim Wilson from the City of Brooklyn Center join us. The city has been doing a lot over the past year, as all our cities have, and we'd like the mayor to tell us a little bit about last year and what's coming ahead. Mayor Wilson.
Well, good afternoon. I think we've gotten past the noon hour. We've had a nice lunch and a nice facility, and it's been great hearing from the other cities. There's a common theme, I think, between all four cities, and that is that redevelopment, development, residential diversity, all of those things are similar in all of our cities. I assume it's the same in other cities as well. I see Mayor Hemke is here from New Hope. I have two council members here I'd like to introduce, Councilmember Ryan and Councilmember Graves. And my right-hand man is here, and I don't know exactly where he's sitting, but it's our city administrator, Kurt Bogany. Who has done excellent work for us, by the way. He's the individual that hired in Gary Idle. Some of you may know him, may not know him. He has done redevelopment for years and years. Kurt hired him in for 6 months so he could meet his PERA, retirement responsibilities, so he could retire. And Gary now has retired as of about December 20th or so. And he was with the City of Brooklyn Center for 10 years. So he loved what he was doing, often said that, and he said it was great to be able to make things happen, to make change happen. So, in March of 2015, the City Council developed a 2016-28 strategic plan. That plan identified various planning elements, including mission statements, SWOT analysis, 6 strategic priorities, key outcome indicators, and action initiatives, things that Brooklyn Center had not had in the past. And those 6 strategic priorities are resident economic stability, targeted redevelopment, enhanced community image, inclusive community engagement, strengthened and empowered youth, and key infrastructure investments. As mentioned before, the strategic city plan included a mission statement, a value statement, SWOT analysis, strategic priorities. Originally, the original plan in 2016 and 2018 did not include a vision statement. However, in 2017, the city did adopt a vision statement to guide all efforts within the city. And that vision statement describes an aspiration desired by future state of the community, or at its best where the community wants to be in the future. I share with you these words. That is the city's new vision statement, and it goes like this. We envision Brooklyn Center as a thriving, diverse community with a range of housing, business, cultural, and recreational offerings. It is a safe and inclusive place that people of all ages love to call home, and visitors enjoy due to its convenient location and commitment to a healthy environment. Not as short and sweet and catchy as a lot of other cities are, but it does encompass what we're trying to do. So, earlier, I think you had seen and can see our new city logo at the bottom. That's new this year. I can emphasize with Brooklyn Park and Mayor Lundy in the number of individuals I've talked to about the new logo. And, but it's there, it's gone up, and people are pleased with it, and it seems to be working well for us. Resident economic stability. We're looking in Brooklyn Center to bring in jobs, to build and create things that will increase the local economy for our citizens, for our residents, and for our visitors who come to Brooklyn Center. It's a hard task. It means a lot of redevelopment and bringing in jobs where we can. Targeted redevelopment. Redeveloping properties is one of the highest values and best use will accomplish our goals regarding housing, job creation, and growth of the city's tax base. We will appropriately prepare sites, and provide the necessary supporting infrastructure investments to guide redevelopment publicly and privately owned properties. Some of those that are coming online is the sanctuary at Brooklyn Center, 6121 Boulevard, Brooklyn Boulevard. It opens in the spring of 2018. It's a 4-story, 158-unit senior assisted living facility with a 1-story wing addition. 130 units are dedicated for general assisted living apartments, with the remaining reserved for 28 memory support studios. Senior housing in Brooklyn Center, I have been on the planning and zoning for 12 years. I've been the mayor for 12 years. And for 24 years, we've talked about senior housing, and now we're finally getting some. So. Crescent Cove Respite and Hospice Home for Kids. It opened in November of 2017. It's one of 3 in the nation, and it's a hospice for young children who need to be helped through the end of life. And it's not an adult facility, but geared towards children. So, one of the biggest things that's coming is Top Golf. Some of you may have heard of Top Golf. And it'll be opening in the late summer, early fall of 2018. It's a 65,000 square foot, 3-level golfing and entertainment facility with 102 hitting bays and a 220-yard driving range. I don't golf, so somebody else probably knows what all that means. It'll have a 50-table restaurant and lounge, a 3,000 square foot roof terrace, and 3,000 square foot event area. I'm a little ahead, but I want to talk about Bank of America yet. We have a new bank coming into where Brookdale used to be. It's at the crossings. And Brookdale, in that property, what used to be Brookdale anyway, has enjoyed a very expansive redevelopment and is doing very well with the businesses that are coming into that area. Last but not least, I will mention Luther Mazda Mitsubishi dealership. It's anticipated to start construction in 2018. It's relocating an existing Luther Mazda Mitsubishi dealership from Brooklyn Boulevard to 68th Avenue North. Construction of a new 35,000 square foot dealership next to the existing Luther Chevrolet and Buick GMC dealerships will be built for them. I often talk to them. They were one of the first, and now their biggest taxpayer in Brooklyn Center, but their first business that they brought in has grown now to 7 or 8. And I asked our city manager if we can find land somewhere else so they can move more dealerships in. And they seem to be amenable to that, so we'll try hard. Enhanced community image. You can see on the bottom here we have a new logo. We're also doing things like we've hired a new communications expert. We've hired a couple of those. We've also hired a new director for development and diversity. And we're moving into a new phase in Brooklyn Center where we're looking more at the people rather than the nuts and bolts and getting redevelopment done. Redevelopment was very important over the last 10 or 12 years. We had way too many underutilized land properties, but we've succeeded in at least making a dent in a lot of those. Inclusive community engagement. We, in the summer, we hold meetings in our parks. We rotate between the 16 that we have, and we do 4 of those, and we pick 4 different parks every year. National Night Out we have. And pictured here is some of the new community dialogues we're having with citizens and meeting to discuss issues in Brooklyn Center and to have them provide input to the city council on where they'd like to see their city go. We held 3 of them last year. There are 2 more coming up, and there will be more through the summer that will be held, not at City Hall, but at different locations across the city, say a church or business or something on that order, so that it's not that imposing big brother type feeling to people who are attending. Am I close, Dave? Strengthen and empowered youth. Brooklyn Center had 19 interns as well last year, and BrookLink is a cooperative agreement between the cities of Brooklyn Park and Brooklyn Center. Mayor Lundy mentioned it earlier as being BrookLink. It's an offshoot or a spin-off from the Brooklyn Bridge Alliance for Youth, and that was something we put together, both cities, Hennepin County, the schools, the colleges, and others, to look at youth in the area and what we can do to better train and better make better lives for our youth as they go forward to adults. We have a youth council now that's looking at tobacco policy, and I have to tell you, there's a lot of younger individuals there. My hair's gray, theirs is not, but they have good ideas, and they try really hard to implement those ideas, and they're very bright, very well-schooled, and very knowledgeable. So they're looking at that policy right now to make a recommendation to the City Council. Key infrastructure investments. We now have a fully funded capital improvement plan, something the city had been trying for years to put into place. Well, let me say that differently. Something the city had for years, but couldn't put it in place because we didn't have any funding to do any of the projects. So when we first started out, we identified something like $80 or $100 million of just general maintenance within the city that needed to be done to buildings and infrastructure and all of those things. So now we have converted enough of our revenue streams to have a revenue stream to be able to work on projects on an annual basis. I'm getting the hook, so I'm gonna look ahead quick. Oh, I'm almost done. Key infrastructure investments. Oh, actually, I am done. So I want to say, in completing, that it's been a pleasure to be here today. I thank the organization who has invited me again. I've been to a number of these. I have to admit, the very first one, when I was first elected in 2007, I made Kurt go to and do the State of the Cities, and he did. It was good. It was great. So, but I was brand new and afraid of all you people that are here in the room. So I want to thank you for inviting me today. Thank you for your time and your attention, and drive safely on the way home. Thank you.